what you're looking at now is a picture from this past Thursday night of an annual gathering where over 100,000 Jews came to Meiron, which is right near the holy city of Tzfat, to spend the entire night engrossed in song, in prayer, prayers of hope, of Ani Mamin, prayers of faith, the same Ani Mamin that 80 years ago Jews would sing as they were marched to their death in Auschwitz and in Birkenau. Here we have Jews linking their arms together. Doesn't matter what their background, where they're from, coming together as one to sanctify God's name, praise Him, express gratitude. And the footage we're looking at right now happened moments before the tragedy that struck. This past Thursday night, as the group was making their way, departing from the central area, it's not 100% clear what caused everything, but something along the lines of people towards the top of the staircase slipping and falling forward on the people just below them, who then fell on the people below them, who then fell on the people below them, creating this human domino effect and death trap that caused the loss of 45 precious souls. And over 150 people were injured. And there were grandparents, there were parents, there were children, siblings. And I heard from one of the emergency workers who was there trying to help people, to save people. And as he was in the midst of trying to help, he heard some cell phones ringing. And he looked to see where they were coming from, and they were on top of lifeless bodies. And in the caller ID, it said, Ima, said Abba, said Mom, Dad, parents who were desperately looking for their children, searching for them, hoping they were okay, looking for news to find out what was happening. And we don't have answers. We don't even have the vocabulary to understand why things happen the way they do. We trust God. We know that there's a divine plan and He knows what He's doing, but we don't know what the plan is. I was speaking to one of my rabbis, Rabbi Benjamin Jacobson, who's a master in hashkafa, in Jewish thought, in Jewish philosophy. And he shared with me an insight about a previous tragedy, happened just over 5 years ago. In the Har Nof community, Jerusalem, of the holy city of Jerusalem, where two terrorists entered a synagogue. People were in the midst of prayer, and they were armed with knives, with a gun, and they indiscriminately started stabbing people and shooting, causing 5 precious souls to be martyred. And someone asked Rav Chaim Kanievsky, the Gadol Hador, one of the leading rabbis of the generation, they asked him, how could this be? How is this right? People in the synagogue wearing their tefillin, wearing their talis, in the midst of Shmona Esrei, the silent Amida, the powerful one-on-one with the Almighty, at that very moment, that's when their lives get yanked from this world? How can that happen? And Rav Chaim said to him, perhaps we should look at it from a different angle. On Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, God decides, Mi Yichye umiyamus. It's proclaimed in the heavens who is going to live that year and who is going to die and be reunited with their Creator. So those 5 holy souls, that was already determined on Rosh Hashanah that they would be joining God in the heavens. But because they were so pious and so spiritual and so special, they were privileged to leave this world wearing their tefillin, wearing their talis, in the midst of the most powerful prayer, reciting Shema Esrei, and then heading to the heavens. Ray Jacobson suggested perhaps we could say something similar about the tragedy this past Thursday night. Ideally, if a person knows they're going to leave this world, they're supposed to say the Shema before they do. But we usually don't have a heads up. And here, Thursday night, moments before the tragedy, thousands of people together declared Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. They were in the midst of prayer, in the midst of song, in the midst of sanctifying God's name. And it was at that moment that they were invited to be reunited with their family and loved ones in heaven and to be reunited with God himself. Many are wondering, what can we do to help? If we're not an emergency medical worker, if we're not there with the families to comfort them, or those who are still very sick, what can we do? And my son, who's in 9th grade, one of his friends in school who's a 10th grader, he was there and injured and is currently clinging to life. Clinging to life, not conscious. And my son just called a few minutes ago to find out if we had any updates. So what can we do? So I want to suggest that perhaps we can try to utilize 3 Jewish superpowers. As Pirkei Avos teaches us, the world stands on 3 things: Torah, Avoda, Gemilus Chasadim. Torah study, which we're doing right now, we're dedicating this learning in the merit of speedy and full recovery for all those who are sick and injured, and to uplift the soul for those who have left us. Avoda, prayer, we can beseech the Almighty and knock on heaven's door and ask, please, please heal everyone. May there be no more sickness and no more suffering. And number 3, Milus Chasadim, acts of kindness. Perhaps this week we could each make an extra effort to look for opportunities to do something kind for someone else. And sometimes it's even more important for the people that are closest to us. Our family, our parents, siblings, children, or sometimes maybe we're not as sensitive as we should be. Maybe we could go out of our way to do something for them. And if we have enemies, then it's all the more important to find a way to do something positive for them. Let's use our powers and let's use these tools that God has given us. And hopefully in that merit, all those who are sick and who are injured will have a complete and speedy recovery. And we as well will be able to live lives that are healthy, lives of meaning, lives of joy, and lives where no one has to know sickness or suffering ever again. Thank you all so much.